Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. So will continue our discussions from Srimad Bhagvatam, first canto. We were on chapter 11 or 12. Anybody remembers which chapter we were on and which verse?
Prabhu. 11:38.
11:38. Okay, thank you. So we are on chapter 11, verse number 38. So this is the section where Sudha Goswami is answering the various set of questions which are asked in the fourth chapter about history of Bhagavatam. Where did Vyasdev wrote it, right? With whose inspiration? And please tell us about Parikshit Maharaj and then Shukdev Goswami, and where did the meeting take place? So he described from 4th chapter onwards till 7th chapter. He described about the 7th chapter, 11th verse. He described the history of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he started the discussion of the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. And then he went in a flow and he continued the discussion by describing how Krishna left Dwarka, left Hastinapur and then entered Dwarka. The feelings of union, feelings of separation, they are described. And then so that is the 10th chapter, 11th chapter, and before that the departure of Bhishma Dev is described. So now we are discussing the 11th chapter, the feelings of union of Dwarkavasis. So after Krishna entered Dwarka, he blew his transcendental conch shell, and with that he announced to all the citizens that he has come. All the citizens, all the Dwarkavasis, they came with various offerings, just like Raver Deepam Ivadrita. They offered all the gifts to Krishna like lamp being offered to sun. So we were on 38th verse. Okay, just a minute. 11th chapter, verse number 38. Okay, take it. So in this last section, I'll just share the screen also. So now after reciprocating with various citizens and then reciprocating with the mothers, now Krishna enters the queen's palaces. He divides himself into 16,108 Krishnas, and all the Krishnas enter into the various palaces of the queens. And here in the 36th verse, we discussed how Uddama Bhava Pishunamal Valguhasa, all the queens, they were displaying their beauty and shy and loving smiles and shy glances. They were trying to attract Krishna's attention, but they were not able to disturb Krishna, because Krishna is not attracted and disturbed by anything of this world. He is attracted only by devotional service. Evam sandarshita hiyanga harina bhrityavashyata swavashena pi krishnena yasyedam sa ishwaram vashe. That is whole Damodar Leela all about. That is what is beginning today, the Kartik month. So Krishna was attracted to all these queens not because of their beauty, but because of their devotion. And in the 38th verse, the wonderful description of the transcendence of the Lord is described. Etadishanamishasya prakristhopi tadgunai na yujyate sadatmaste yatha buddhi tadashraya. This is the divinity of the supreme divine Krishna. Etad ishanam ishasya. What is the divinity? Prakriti astho api, although he is situated in there in this material world, na yujyate. He never ever gets touched by the material modes. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord are also beyond the material modes. So I think we completed this chapter, right? Yeah. So we'll start with the
Yes, Prabhu. 12th. We have to start 12th.
Yeah. 12th chapter will begin now. So in the last verse of this, he says, these ladies, they were thinking that Krishna is under our control, you know, because they were completely unaware. They knew, actually, they were not unaware. They were aware of Krishna's supremacy, but their love for Krishna covered their knowledge of the supremacy of Krishna. And they were thinking, though, he's under our control. So that's how Prabhupada writes. Wives of the Lord of Krishna were made to forget the immeasurable glories of the Lord by internal potency. So that is what is the 11th chapter. Now in the 12th chapter, the sages of Naimisharanya, after hearing all these things, they now remind sages, they remind Sut Goswami. Sut Goswami, we actually asked a different question. We asked about Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit, and then you went on a detour and you described so many chapters. But can you please come back to the actual question? So that's how Shaunak Rishi begins this chapter. We'll recite this verse. Shaunaka uvacha ashwathamnopasrishtena Sirshnoru tejasa Raya hato garbha Kena jivitah punaha. Translation.
The sage Saunaka said, the womb of the Uttara, mother of Maharaja Parikshit, was spoiled by the dreadful and invincible Brahmastra weapon released by the Aswathama. But Maharaja Parikshit was saved by the Supreme Lord.
So Prabhupada writes, now the sages, although they were so very absorbed in hearing all the descriptions, but now they wanted to return to the original topic. So therefore they're inquiring Shaunak Rishi. So next verse. Tasya janma mahabuddhe karmani cha mahatmanaha nidhanam cha yathaivatsid apretya gatavan yatha.
How the great emperor Parikshit, who was a highly intelligent and great devotee, born in the tomb, how did the death take place, and what did he achieve after his death? Hare Krishna.
So the birth of Parikshit is amazing, activities are amazing, and the death is also very, very astonishing. Tasya janma mahabuddhe, janma is amazing, karma is also wonderful, and the way he departed is also glorious. Please tell us all about them. So why Janma is glorious? Because he was personally protected by the Lord. His death was also glorious and amazing because it was sanctioned by the Lord. Otherwise, Lord could have protected Parikshit Maharaj. He protected him in the womb of his mother. So he could have protected now also by the curse of the sage, the son of the sage, but no, he didn't do that. And therefore, his death is amazing because when Parikshit came to know, he left everything and sat on the bank of Ganga. He did not ask the Lord for protection. That is the most important thing. That is natural. That shows how great Parikshit is. How he is completely a liberated soul. He didn't become a liberated soul after hearing Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami. He was already a liberated soul. And this act of not, asking protection from the Lord, just like Ambrish Maharaj, Ambrish Maharaj, when Durvasa, he sent this demon, Ambrish didn't just move also 1 inch from his place. That is the surrender of a devotee. Ashlishyava padaratam pinashtumam. So Parikshit Maharaj also has this mood. Tamopayatam pratiyantu vipra ganga cha devi dhritachitamishe dijopasrishta kuhakastakshako va dashatvalam gayata vishnu gatha. Let that mystical bird or whatever the sage, the son of that sage has created, let it come and bite me. Oh sages, please keep on reciting the glories of Krishna. So that is how Parikshit Maharaj is glorious. He didn't ask for protection. Even after coming from the forest, when he realized that I have made a mistake, he not just expected punishment, he desired punishment. So that is important. Expecting is one thing, desiring is completely different thing. He desired, because if I don't get punishment, two things will happen. It will give me impetus to commit sins in the future, and my future generations will get affected. So that is how, Parikshit Maharaj, he was such a great devotee. And then even after his son cursed, Shamik Rishi's son cursed, Shamik Rishi sent one of his disciples, Gaur Mukha. He sent to inform Parikshit that now your death is very near. Please prepare for your death. Interestingly, when Gaur Mukha, he told this information to Parikshit, he didn't go to Shamik Rishi and ask forgiveness. Why he didn't ask forgiveness? And anybody knows? Anybody has any idea, thoughts? Why he didn't go and ask forgiveness from Shamik Rishi?
This will embarrass the sage more, because the sage knows the position of the Parikshit Maharaj.
Yes. Because the news of the curse was communicated with such a remorse and such regret that Parikshit Maharaj, he thought, if I will go and ask forgiveness, he'll be more embarrassed. So for him, he was thinking about embarrassment of sage at the cost of his own life. He was not thinking about his own life. That is how great Parikshit is. So all these things intrigued the sages of Naimisharanya. Please tell us, how come this personality left his body? He was such a great personality. So that's how devotees are. Chitraketu Maharaj, when he was cursed by Mother Parvati, he also said the same thing. Guna pravahaye tasmin kah shapa, kah anugraha, kah swarga, narakah kova, kim sukham dukkham evava. That is a devotee. So earlier also they had asked the same question, the sages. Earlier also the sages had asked the same question in the third chapter, yes, about Krishna. Tasya karmani udarani parigitani suribhi bruhina shraddhadanam leelaya dadatak kalah. Oh, Sut Goswami, please tell us about the pastimes and the glories of Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna Katha is potent. So first they asked about Krishna Katha, and now they are asking about Vaishnav Katha. Krishna Katha and Vaishnav Katha, they are equally potent. There is no difference in Vaishnav Katha and Krishna Katha in terms of effect. Both produce the same effect. That's why Vidura tells Maitreya in third canto, Shrutasya pumsam shuchira shramasya nanvanjasa suribhiridito arthaha tat tadgunano shravanam mukunda padarvindam hridayeshu yesham. He says, anybody who endeavors to hear from the spiritual master, what he should hear? He should hear the glories of the devotees from the mouth of the spiritual master. Tattad gunanu shravanam mukunda. Why we should hear about the devotees? What is so special about them? Padar vindam hridayeshu yesham, because they have kept Krishna's lotus feet in their heart. So that's how the glories of devotee is. So therefore the sages are asking about Parikshit Maharaj now. One time one devotee asked Prabhupada, what if at the end of life I don't remember Krishna and I remember you then what will happen? Prabhupada paused for some moment, closed his eyes, and then after some time, he opened his eyes and said, that's all right. So whether you remember Krishna or whether you remember Prabhupada, it will have the same effect. You'll go to the spiritual world. So that's how the devotee katha is very powerful. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Maharaj Parikshit was saved in the womb of his mother. So naturally, he could have been saved by now son of Brahmana, the curse of the son of Brahmana also. But it didn't happen. And he didn't ask also from the Lord, please save me, O my Lord. Because he clearly understood this is the will of the Lord. That's a very tall order. To accept the problems with a grateful heart is a sign of a purified heart. And that doesn't come so easily. To accept problems with a grateful heart. Thank you, my Lord. Thank you for giving this problems. That is a very, very, high level of realization and understanding. I deserve it. I need it to get purified. And that's what Parikshit Maharaj said. I don't want anything, my Lord. I was so attached to my household life. Krishna has given this curse just to take me out of this household life. Tasyaiva meghasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya grihesho vikshnam nirveda mulo dvijashapa rupo yatra prasakto bhayamashu dhatte. I was so asakta with my family life. Vyasakta, vishishta rupena asakta. Nirveda mulo dvijashapa rupo. Therefore, Krishna has come in the form of the curse of this Brahmana son. So therefore, the sages of Naimisharanya, they want to hear. They continue in the third verse. Tad idam shrotum ichhamo.
Tadvidam sotum ichchami.
Titum yadi manyase. Guhina shraddha dhananam. Jnanam madashukaha.
We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaj Parikshit, to whom Sukadeva Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Hare Krishna.
Idam shrotum ichhamo. We want to hear about that story of Parikshit Maharaj. Gaditum yadi manyase. Gaditum means if you think that we deserve to hear. This is how Shrota presents his or her case. If you think I am qualified to hear, please speak. Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna also says the same thing. If you think, please show me. If you think I deserve, please show me this form of yours, O my Lord. So this verse comes in 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna is, requesting, if you think I deserve to see this form, then please show me this form. I'm not remembering the exact verse. One of the first 10 verses, 11th chapter mein aata hai. So one time, Bhavanand Prabhu, he was asking Prabhupada that Bhavanand Prabhu or some other devotee was telling Prabhupada, I am chanting this last 6 months and still I have not got darshan of the Lord. 6 महीने से chanting कर रहा हूं मैं, अभी तक दर्शन नहीं हुआ है. So Prabhupada, he opened Bhagavad Gita and he showed him this particular verse. If you think Krishna I deserve, if I am qualified, then please show me yourself. So therefore, the sages are also requesting, Gaditum yadi manyase. If you think, then please narrate this story. Bruhi na shraddha dhanana, because we have a quality, we are faithful. There is a quality of a speaker, audience, and the subject matter. Three things are there. And the most powerful combination is when audience are interested and speaker is presenting the knowledge in parampara and the subject matter is Krishna. Then it is amazing combination. In the 18th chapter, it will come again. The sages, they are telling Suta Goswami, Tanno bhavan vai bhagavat pradhano mahattamaikanta parayanasya harerudaram charitam vishuddham shushru no vitanotu vidwan. O Suta Goswami, you are Bhagavat Pradhan, you are best of the devotee. Mahattamaikanta parayanasya, you have taken shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And what is the topic we are discussing? Harerudaram charitam vishuddham. We are discussing the wonderful topics of Krishna. And what is our qualification? Harerudaram charitam vishuddham shushru no. Shushru means we are eager to hear. We have faith, we are eager. So therefore, they are saying the same thing here also. Bruhina shraddadhananam. We are faithful and respectful towards you. So Prabhupada writes, the effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagvatam was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. Both of them were benefited. So that is the glory of Bhagavatam. It is not that speaker is on the higher level. Speaker and the audience, they are equally benefited when Krishna Katha is spoken. Both advance equally if they are in right consciousness, of course. If the speaker is not in right consciousness, even by speaking Bhagavatam, he may not advance. So Prabhupada writes, out of the 9 limbs of devotional service, if somebody performs one of them or all of them or some of them, one gets benefited. And Parikshit Maharaj is the Acharya for Shravanam. Shukdev Goswami is Acharya for Kirtanam. Therefore, both of them were successful. They were both serious. So Prabhupada writes about that. And then Prabhupada condemns all the bogus gurus. And then he tells a very funny story. It is said that sometimes a spiritual master injects spiritual force into a disciple by an electric current generated by a master, and the disciple begins to feel the shock. He becomes unconscious, and the master weeps for exhausting his store of so-called spiritual assets. And we all know whom Prabhupada is talking about. Such bogus advertisement is going on in this age, and the poor common man is becoming the victim of such advertisement. So therefore, one should not be victim. Just like one time Prabhupada was there in America and he was speaking. So one girl came and said, Swamiji, when I chant, I see red light. So Prabhupada said, keep chanting, that red light will go away. Don't worry. So that was Prabhupada. So Prabhupada never ever took all these sentimental things seriously, all this show magic, all this show bottle spiritualism, all the magic things. Oh, these are all secondary. One should not become victim of these unauthorized advertisements made by some bogus representatives. Then he says, ardent hearing from the bona fide master is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge, and there is no need for medical performances or occult mysticism for miraculous effects. There are some organizations, some spiritual groups, they gather people, they have a huge program, thousands of people come, and then they call somebody on the stage, and this person chants some things, and then he says, now you are treated of this disease, you have this problem. And then seeing this, so many people get transformed. Arey, bimari theek kiya itna purana. And that's how they take to that path. So Prabhupada said, this is not spirituality. The process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired results. So after Shaunakadi Rishis asked all these questions, Now, Sudha Goswami starts answering. Suta Uvacha Apipalat Dharmarajaha Pitrivatranjayan Praja Nispriha Sarvakamebhyo Padanu Sevaya.
Sri Suta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna.
So, Suta Goswami describes the background of Parikshit's birth. So now the question is, please describe about Parikshit. So now he is describing about the background, how Maharaj Yudhishthir was ruling this kingdom. Abhipalad Dharmaraj. So Yudhishthir Maharaj was Dharmaraj. He was generous to everyone. Pitrivat Ranjayan Praja, just like father takes care of the children, Yudhishthir would take care of his citizens. Personally, he had no material desires. Nispriha. Nispriha means no material desires. Nispriha sarva kamebhyo. He had no material desires. How is this?
4 o'clock.
Oh. Nispriha sarva kamebhyo. How is this possible? How can somebody has no material desires? Krishna padanu sevaya. Because he had lotus feet of Krishna in his heart. He was always engaged in service of Krishna. That's what Brahmaji tells to Narad Muni. He says, my words never go wrong. My mind never goes towards, adharma. My senses never go towards sense gratification. Why? Because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Lord with great zeal. Na bharati me angamrishopalakshate na vai kvachin me manaso mrishagati na me rishikani patantya satpathe yanmai ridautkantyavatadrito hari. That is the result, natural outcome of a person who has Krishna in his heart. Naturally, he becomes free from the material desires. Naturally, his mind is attracted to Krishna's name, form, pastimes. Naturally, he develops distaste for sense gratification. That was Yudhishthir Maharaj. And we have heard earlier also, Yudhishthir was such a great devotee that when Krishna was departing from Hastinapur, everyone came and said, please stay for some time. And Krishna didn't stop. But when Yudhishthir came and told, please stay, Krishna stayed. That is the devotional service. That is the extent of devotional service of Yudhishthir Maharaj. So, Prabhupada writes about Ram Rajya. He says, people, they wanted Ram Rajya. But problem is, people want Ram Rajya without Ram. How is it possible? Prabhupada talks about Praja. Praja means that which is born. And Praja is not just for human species. Praja is for all the species of life. Not just humans, but animals also should be protected. Because everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahmam hadiyoni aham bija pratapita. So Prabhupada, he glorifies Yudhishthir Maharaj's kingdom. Maharaj Yudhishthir knew the science of Krishna very well. And therefore it is stated that by continuous cultivation of this science of devotional service, he acquired the qualification of administering the state. Krishna always wants his devotees to become king because they fulfill Krishna's desire. They fulfill the Krishna's desire of bringing the souls close to him. And that is the reason for Krishna appearing in this world. You know, the third question of stages of Naimisharanya in the first chapter. Why Krishna appears from the womb of Devaki? Answer was to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. And because devotees, they fulfill this desire of Krishna, Krishna wants the devotees to be put on the throne. So Prabhupada writes, as an ideal king, he had no personal ambition. There was no place for sense gratification because all his senses at all times were engaged in loving service of the Supreme. And then Prabhupada gives a famous example. If we water the root of the tree, entire tree gets nourished. So the fifth verse, 12th chapter, fifth verse. Sampada kritavo loka
Sampada krito loka
Ishi bhrataro mahi
Maheshi Bhrataro
Jambu dvipadipatyam cha
जम्बूद्वीपाधिपत्यं च
Yashascha tridivangataha.
यशश्च
News even reached the celestial planets about Maharaj Yudhishthira's worldly possessions, the sacrifices by which he would attain a better destination, his queen, his stalwart brothers, his extensive land, his sovereignty over the planet Earth's fame, etc.
That was the fame of Yudhishthir Maharaj. He performed just 3 Ashwamedh Yagya. Indra performed 100. Still, Yudhishthir was more famous than Indra. Unimaginable. That is how Krishna puts his devotees in limelight, in spotlight. Devotees, they don't want to become famous, but Krishna makes the devotee famous. Pratishtha rabhay puri gela palaya, Krishna preme pratishtha chale sange gadaya. This comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Madhavendra Puri, he was running away from fame. Pratishtha ka bhay ho gaya. You know, who gets the bhay because of pratishtha? Arey pratishtha nahi chahiye, bhay ho gaya. You know, most of the people of the world, they are fearful of not getting pratishtha. But devotees, they become fearful of pratishtha. You know, so therefore pratishtha, it is said pratishtha nari sada kumari. Pratishtha wants to marry devotees, and devotees don't want to marry pratishtha. And all the non-devotees, they want to marry Pratishtha, and Pratishtha is running away from them. So she remains unmarried only. So therefore, Yudhishthir Maharaj was so famous, yet he was very humble. On the contrary, Indra, because of his fame, pride, opulence, wealth, he became puffed up and he offended Brihaspati. But Yudhishthir was not like that. Jambu, and he was not just the king of Bharatvarsha, he was the king of entire Jambu Dvipa. Unimaginable. आजकल तो एक स्टेट को मेंटेन करने के लिए इतना प्रॉब्लम है. What to speak of India? What to speak of world? What to speak of Bharatvarsha? What to speak of Jambu Dvipa? Jambu Dvipa Adhipatyam cha. Adhipati, he was the Adhipati of Jambu Dvipa, and his fame reached Tridivangataha, planets. It reached the heavenly planets also. So Prabhupada writes, only a rich and great man's name and fame are known all over the world. And the name and fame of Yudhishthira reached the higher planets because of his good administration, worldly possessions, glorious wife Draupadi, and the strength of his brothers Bhima and Arjun, and his solid sovereign power over the world known as Jambu Dvip. That was Yudhishthir Maharaj. But in spite of all this, how humble he was, how, he was so very down to earth, that is described in the next verse. Kim te kama suras parha Kunda manaso dvijaha Vigraharu mudamrajyaha Uditasya yathetare
O Brahmanas, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the denizens of heaven aspired for it. But because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service.
Yes. Kim te kama surasparha, the opulence of Yudhishthir was so enchanting that even devatas desired for it. Sparha. Sparha comes from the word spreha. Spreha means desire. Even devatas desired, aspired the opulence of Yudhishthir Maharaj. But because Mukunda Manaso Dvija, because he was absorbed in Mukunda, his mind was absorbed in Mukunda. Therefore, nothing could satisfy Yudhishthir, just like a hungry person is not satisfied by anything else. You know, we have this experience every year at least once. You know, Nirjal Ekadashi ke din. If next day morning Nirjal Dwadashi ke din, if somebody says, Prabhu ji aapne Nirjal Ekadashi kiya hai, aapko mala और चंदन और आपको ये इतना अच्छा आसन पे बिठाएंगे, बोलेंगे ये सब बाजू में रखो, पहले पानी दो भाई. You know, so nothing satisfies a hungry person apart from food and water. So although Yudhishthir has everything, nothing could satisfy him. Adhijaharu mudam ragyah shudhitasya yatha itare. Just like a hungry person is not satisfied by anything else. Shudhitasya. Shudha means hunger. So Prabhupada writes, somebody can read the purport.
There are two things in the world which can satisfy living beings. When one is materially engrossed, he is satisfied only by sense gratification. But when one is liberated from the conditions of the material modes, he is satisfied only by rendering loving service for the satisfaction of the Lord. This means that the living being is constitutionally a servitor, not one who is served. Being illusioned by the conditions of the external energy, one falsely thinks himself to be the served, but actually he is not served. He is the servant of the senses like lust, desire, anger, avarice, pride, madness, intolerance. When one is in his proper senses by attainment of spiritual knowledge, he realizes that he is not the master of the material world, but he is only a servant of the senses. At that time, he begs for the service of the Lord and thus becomes happy without being illusioned by so-called material happiness. Maharaj Yudhishthira was one of the liberated souls, and therefore for him there was no pleasure in a vast kingdom, good wife, obedient brothers, happy subjects, and prosperous world. These blessings automatically follow for a pure devotee, even though the devotee does not aspire for them. The example set herein is exactly suitable. It is said that one who is hungry is never satisfied by anything other than food.
Yes, thank
The
you.
whole
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah. So two things are there. There are two extremes of people in this world. A person who is a complete sense gratifier and the other person who is a liberated soul. They are always in bliss. Yascha mood tamo loke yascha buddhe param gatah tau ubhav sukham edhete klishyati antarito jana. वो बीच वाले जो है ना, they are always disturbed. You know, they have tasted little bit of Krishna and they have tasted lots of sense gratification. तो ये भी चाहिए और ये छूट भी नहीं रहा है. You know, that is the situation of most of the people, sadhakas. So klishyati antarito jana, but two people are happy. So Prabhupada writes, there are two things which can satisfy. One is materially engrossed, of course. That satisfaction doesn't last long, but that gives temporary satisfaction. And the other is a liberated being. But when one is in proper senses, then he realizes that he is not the master, he is servant. Because in this world, people want to become master, they are trying so much and then they get frustrated. And they don't realize that why I am not getting happy. Everything is good in my life. Still I am not getting the happiness which I want. The reason is only when one serves Krishna, Mukunda Manaso Dvija. If somebody has Krishna in his heart, then he can be desireless, and a desireless person can be happy and peaceful. Otherwise, see Hiranyakashipu, na? The greatest of the powerful personalities in the world. Even Devatas were trembling out of fear of Hiranyakashipu. He had everything at his disposal. Still, Saitam Nirjit Kaku Bekarat Vishayan Priyan Yathopajosham Bhunjano Natripyat Ajitendriyaha. He was unsatisfied. Therefore, why he was unsatisfied? He was Ajitendriya, uncontrolled in senses. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, the whole world is full of hungry people. Hunger is not for food. Hunger is for spiritual atmosphere. Due to ignorance only, they think that the world is dissatisfied because of insufficient food, shelter, defense, and objects of sense gratification. This is called illusion. That's what whole world is all about. Thinking if I'll get proper food, proper shelter, proper protection, I'll be happy. But that doesn't happen. Only spiritual food, spiritual shelter, spiritual defense, and spiritual sense gratification, that can satisfy the hunger. These 4 words are amazing. Spiritual food, prasad. Spiritual shelter, Krishnaika Sharanam. Spiritual defense, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke, Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke. That is our spiritual defense. And spiritual sense gratification. What is spiritual sense gratification? Susukham kartum avyayam. Bhakti is all blissful. One time somebody asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, what do you do for recreation? आप दिन भर ये लोग हरे कृष्णा करते हो, आप how do you enjoy life? Prabhupada said, our whole life is recreation only. Who in the morning 4 a.m. gets up and starts dancing? कौन करता है? We do it. So that is spiritual sense gratification. And these can be obtained in association of Krishna. And that's what Yudhishthira Maharaj was experiencing. Then he starts the story. Matur garbhagato viraha satada bhrigunandana
Satada Brahmanandana
tadash purusham kanchet
Kanche,
ahyamanvastra tejasa.
O
O
son of
son of
Prabhu,
Shaunaka, when the child Parikshit, the great fighter, was in the womb of his mother Uttara and was suffering from the burning heat of the Brahmastra thrown by Ashwathama, he could observe the Supreme Lord coming to him.
Matu garbhagato veera. So Parikshit Maharaj is described as Veera, fighter.
mind पे गिरा दिया, color हो गया.
He is described as the great fighter, Veera. Why? Chakravarti Thakur writes, because of his natural courage, he was not afraid of fire of the weapon. He was not so much concerned. He was fearless in the womb of mother also. Dadarsha Purusham Kanchit, because he saw Krishna, he was fearless. He was seeing that this astra is burning me. Still, he was Veera. He was fearless. And Prabhupada in the purport, he describes what is death. Death generally involves remaining in trance for 7 months. That means for first 7 months, the child doesn't have much evolved consciousness. And Prabhupada writes, a living being, according to his own action, is allowed to enter into the womb of a mother by the vehicle of a father's semen. Which verse Prabhupada is paraphrasing here? And thus he develops into a desired body. This is the law of birth. Very famous verse Prabhupada quotes many times. Karmana daivanetrena jantu deho papattaye striya pravishta udaram pumsah retah kanashrayaha. So that is the verse. And when he's awake from trance, he feels the inconveniences and wants to come out of the womb, and sometimes fortunately prays to the Lord for such liberation. So this comes in the third canto of Bhagavatam, the prayers of the embryo, how the child in the womb prays to the Lord. This doesn't happen to everyone. Chakravarti Thakur writes, only a devotee prays. A person who is devotee in the past life, somehow he could not get liberated, and he gets another birth. He remembers his past, not just one life. He remembers his past 100 lives. And then he prays to the Lord. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a very beautiful bhajan on this. Bhuliya tomare samsare asiya pe nana vidha vyatha. Oh my Lord, I forgot you. I tried to enjoy the things of the world, and therefore I have suffered. Janani jathare chilama jakona vishama bandhana pashe. I entered the womb of my mother, and it was such a terrible suffering. Then I remembered you, O my Lord, and I prayed, Ekabara Prabhu dekha diya. Just once, please take me out of this condition, O my Lord. करीबो भजन तवा, अरे केवल आपका ही भजन करूंगा. लेकिन क्या हो गया फिर? जन्म होइलो पड़ी माया जाले. So that is how the story of a child is. So Prabhupada writes about that. Parikshit Maharaj, he was struck by Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, but because he was a devotee, Lord appeared and protected him. Even in that helpless condition, the child Parikshit endured the unbearable temperature due to his being a great fighter. For this reason, he is called as Veera. And then the famous verse comes. Angushtamatram amalam Sfurat Purat Maulinam
Maulinam
Pivyadarsanam Shyamam
Apibhyadarsanam Shyamam
Ridvasa Samachyutam.
Sadibhasa Samuchatam.
He, the Lord, was only thumb high, but he was all transcendental. He had a very beautiful blackish infallible body, and he wore a dress of lightning yellow and a helmet of blazing gold. Thus he was seen by the child.
So this is the description of the womb of Uttara. What Parikshit is seeing. Angushtamatram, Krishna was the size of a thumb, entered the womb of Uttara. He was having a Purat Maulina. He was like having a blazing helmet, gold helmet, Apivya Darshan. Very, very pleasing to see this form. Shyamam, blackish. Taritavasa, some lightning, cloths are like lightning. And what else? Srimad Dirgha Chaturbahum Taptakanchana Kundalam
Taptakanchana Kundalam
Tatajaksham Gadapanim
Chatajaksham Gadapanim
Atmana Sarvatodisham
Atmanam Sarvadoshitam
Paribhramantam Mulkabham
Paribhramantam Mulkabham
Yantam Gadam Muhu.
Brahmayantam Gadamuhu.
The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earrings of molten gold, and eyes blood red with fury. As he loitered about, his club constantly encircled him like a shooting star. Hare Krishna.
So some more features are described. Srimad Dirgha Chaturbahu, he appeared in 4 hands, not just 2-handed form of Krishna, 4-handed form of Krishna. Tapta Kanchana Kundala, he had kundal, earrings like molten gold. Shatajaksham, he was angry. His eyes were red with anger. Why? Because anybody who hurts or does any harm to devotee, Krishna becomes very angry. Shatajaksham. And what he had in his hands? Gada Pani. This Gada is very, very important for a devotee. You know, Gada is the protection. Gada is a symbol of protection. Lord protects his devotees with his Gada. In third canto, it is described, when we meditate on the form of the Lord, we should meditate on the Gada of the Lord. And that Gada is always having the stains of blood of the demons or the enemies of devotees. That gives assurance that Lord will always protect me. Kaumodakim bhagavato daitam smareta digdhamarati bhatashonita kardamena malam madhuvratavarutha giropakushtam chaityasya tattvam manimasya kanthe. Kaumudaki, please meditate on the Kaumudaki Gada. Digdham arati bhatashonita kardamena. It has the blood stains of the enemies of the devotees. When it comes to the protection of devotees, Yamraj is telling to Yamdutas, Beta, aaj bach ke aa gaye ho, next time nahi bachoge. Please don't go to devotees. They are very, they look simple, but they have lots of protection. Please don't get, deceived by their looks, because Lord always protect his devotees. He is always there with Gada in his hands, protecting his devotees. Even great Devatas, Siddhas, they are glorifying the devotees of the Lord. Te Deva Siddha Parigita Pavitra Gatha Ye Sadhavo Samadrisho Bhagavat Prapanna Tanopasidat Hare Gadaya Bhigupta Tesham Vayam Nachavaya Prabhavam Dande. Never ever go to devotees of the Lord. They are beyond my control. They are beyond the control of Brahma, Shiva. Ye sadhavo samadrisho bhagavad nap sidat hare, no upasidat hare. Please don't go near them. Why? Gadaya bhigupta. Lord is always there protecting his devotee with his Gada. So that is how Gada is the symbol of protection. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee will never be lost. So Prabhupada then writes, Mare Krishna rakhe ke, rakhe Krishna mare ke. And then Prabhupada says, he writes, that Lord is bigger than the biggest, but he can become the smaller than the smallest also. Anoraniyan mahato mahiyan. And in this verse we can see he entered like a thumb size, very small. So that is the glory of the Lord. And then Prabhupada writes, there is no difference between the form of the Lord in Vaikuntha and the deities of the Lord. Archa Vigraha Seva. So the deities are not different than the Supreme Lord. Pratima Nahi Tumi Sakshat Brajendra Nandan. In fourth canto, one of the chapters, Prabhupada writes in the purport that anyone who is serving the deities of the Lord, doing the deity worship, it comes in the seventh chapter, fourth canto, seventh chapter. When all the sages and all the people, they are worshipping, they are glorifying Lord Vishnu when he appears in Daksha Yagya. So Prabhupada writes in one of the verses there that anyone who worships the deity form of the Lord, he should be, understood to have performed all the sacrifices, and he has understood all the imports of the Vedas. So that is the power of deity worship. Archa Vigraha Seva. So, Sut Goswami continues. Astra Teja Swagadaya Niharam Iva Gopatihi Vidhamantam Sannikarshe Pariyekshata Ityasau.
The Lord was thus engaged in the vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra, just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was absorbed by the child who thought about who he was. Correct.
So he was absorbed in protecting his devotee, and this child was wondering, who is he? Pariyakshata. So that's how Parikshit Maharaj gets the name Parikshit. Paryakshata. He is doing pariksha. Kaun hai ye? And even after getting out of the womb, he would do pariksha. Whom did I see in the womb of my mother? Ye the kya? Ye the kya? Kaun the? He was doing pariksha. That's why his name is Parikshit. Vidhuya tad ameyatma.
Ame Atma,
Bhagavan dharma gup vibhu.
Bhagavan Dharma Vibhu,
Vishato dashamasasya.
Vishato Dashamasasya,
Tatraivantar harihi.
Tadrivanda Hari. While thus being observed by the child, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, the super soul of everyone, and the protector of the righteous, who stretches in all direction and who is unlimited by time and space, disappeared at once.
So vidhuya tad ameyatma. So after vanquishing vidhuya means after completely washing off that the effect of this Brahmastra, that Supreme Lord who is ameyatma means all pervading super soul, who is Bhagavan, Dharmagup, Vibhu. Many adjectives are used about the Lord. He is ameyatma, Bhagavan, Dharmagup, Vibhu. Mishato dashamasasya. So while thus being observed by the child dressed in 10 directions, immediately he disappeared. So Parikshit Chakravarti Thakur writes that he was seen by by Parikshit just when he was about to be born. That means dashamasasya, 10 months he was there in the womb. Dashamasasya, 10 mahine tak abhi garbh mein hi the. That time he saw Krishna, and then after vanquishing the effect of this Brahmastra, he disappeared. So Prabhupada writes about this word Vibhu, ameyatma. Ameyatma means all pervading. Supreme Lord is all pervading. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvam idam tatam. So Prabhupada writes that. And then he describes how Lord is all pervading. He is not limited, he is unlimited. And that's how Parikshit Maharaj, he saw that all pervasive Lord in the small womb also. That is how Lord is glorious. He is all pervading, all powerful, unlimited. Vibhu, Vidheyatma. Still he appears in the womb of Uttara. So that's how Lord is always ready to protect his devotees. Then next verse. Okay. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, this is the quality of the thief. He entered, so Krishna entered the womb of Uttara and he attracted Parikshit Maharaj's mind, and then he disappeared. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, that is the quality of a thief. He enters in, he steals away some very, very precious thing, and then he disappears. So Krishna entered the womb of Uttara, stole away the mind of Parikshit, and then disappeared. Tatraiva antardhade harihi. So that's how Chakravarti Thakur describes. So then after this, Parikshit Maharaj appears in this world, and all the sages and astrologers, they come and they make astrological predictions about this Parikshit Maharaj. And he was a very, very powerful personality. So from 12 to 17 verses, various ceremonies during the birth of Parikshit was described. Tata sarve gunodarake sanukula grahodaye yagye vamshadhara pandu bhuya pandur ivojasa.
Thereupon, when all the good signs of zodiac gradually evolved, the heir apparent of Pandu, who would be the exactly like him in power, took birth. Hare Krishna. It is like Parikshit.
So Maharaj Parikshit, when he
Yes.
appeared, he was favored by all good zodiac signs. So that's how when the Lord appears, when the devotees appear, I'll put everybody to mute just a minute. Some disturbance which is coming. So when the Lord appears or when the devotees appear, the constellations and the stars, they automatically arrange themselves in a very, very auspicious position, just to announce the appearance of a great personality. And that's what happened when Parikshit appeared also. So Prabhupada writes, astronomical calculations of stellar influences upon a living being are not suppositions, but are factual. Every living being is controlled by the law of nature at every minute, just as a citizen is controlled. And then Prabhupada writes that the laws of nature are very subtle, and every part of our body is controlled by a respective star. And therefore, astrology is a great science, and misuse of a science does not make it useless. Very important statement Prabhupada writes. It is a great science, astrology is a great science, and misuse of science does not make it useless. So therefore, Parikshit Maharaj, when he appeared, his astrological chart was made. And then Prabhupada writes, the most auspicious constellation of stars take place during the appearance of the Lord in this material world, and it is specifically called Jayanti, a word not to be abused by any other purpose. So Prabhupada, indirectly, tells about some people or some facts, because he cannot mention all this detail in the purports. So Jayanti is only of the Lord. No other person deserves this, Jayanti. That's what Prabhupada writes. And then he says, as a proper place and time is selected to receive a respectable personage, so also to receive such a personality as Parikshit Maharaj, a suitable moment is chosen when all the good stars assembled together to exert their influence upon the king. And this suitable arrangement is never a creation of man's will. Nobody can arrange the astrological, influences. मैं जब जन्म लूंगा तो ये तारा इधर होना चाहिए, ये star इधर. Nobody can do that. It is all arranged by the supreme will. Prabhupada continues. Of course, the arrangement is made according to the good and bad deeds. Only by pious acts one can be allowed to get wealth, education, and beautiful features. So that is the understanding. So Parikshit Maharaj, because he was a great devotee, all these stars were arranged properly. Now, Yudhishthira Maharaj, arranged for all the purificatory ceremonies to be performed, starting from birth ceremony. Okay, somebody can read the translation. 13th verse.
King Yudhishthira, who was very satisfied with the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, had the purificatory process of birth performed. Learned Brahmanas, headed by Dhaumya and Kripa, recited auspicious hymns. Hare Krishna.
So all the great sages were informed and they were invited. Dhaumya, Kripa. So Dhaumya is a very, very important personality. Although people in the world, they don't know about Dhaumya, but Dhaumya was the spiritual master of Pandavas. He was there with Pandavas all the while. During the Vanvas, he was there with them. Dronacharya is just a martial teacher. He was not a spiritual master. But Dhaumya was a spiritual master of the Pandavas, and he was there with them always guiding them, giving directions. So here also he is there. And then Prabhupada in the purport, he describes the importance of all the purificatory ceremonies, the sanskaras starting from Garbhadan, then Simantonayan, Sadbhakshanam, and all that. There are 16 sanskaras, Jata Samskar, then all the other samskars ending in Anteshti. So Prabhupada describes the importance. And then Prabhupada writes that all sanskars are not mere formalities or social functions, but they are all for practical purposes, can be successfully performed by expert brahmanas. Such brahmanas are now very rare. And then Prabhupada describes about Kripacharya. Who was Kripacharya? So Prabhupada tells something about Kripacharya. Next verse. Hiranyam gam mahim graman.
Hiramyam gam mahim gramam
Hastyashwan ripatirvaran.
hastistam viputimikra
Pradat swannam cha viprebhyah. Prajatirthe satirthvit.
Upon the birth of the son, the king, who knew how, where, and when the charity should be given, have the gold, land, villages, elephants, horses, and good food grants to the brahmanas. Hare Krishna.
So Yudhishthira Maharaj distributed charity to the learned brahmanas who deserved it. So Prabhupada writes, only brahmanas and sannyasis are authorized to accept charity from the householders. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes charity in the mode of goodness, charity in the mode of passion and ignorance. Charity in the mode of goodness means you give it to a person who deserves it, according to the time, place, and circumstance. Deshe kale cha patre cha tad danam satvikam smritam. But if some charity is given to show yourself, Arey, I am such a great donor, yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punaha. If somebody is giving just to get something in return, if I'll do this charity, I'll become more pious. That is charity in the mode of passion. And charity in the mode of ignorance, without considering time, place, person, you give charity. That means, for example, if somebody is giving charity to a drunkard, that is charity in the mode of ignorance. So therefore, only brahmanas are qualified to accept the charity because they know it how to use properly. And then Prabhupada writes, the word tirthvit is significant because the king knew well and where the charity has to be given. Tirthvit. Charity is never unproductive or blind. Then Prabhupada describes about some principles of charity here. The conclusion is that intelligent men or brahmanas specifically engaged in service of the Lord were properly maintained without anxiety for the needs of the body. So that was the mutual, cooperation between the brahmanas and the king. Brahmanas, they didn't have to think about their maintenance because the kings would maintain them nicely. They would give naturally the charity to the brahmanas, and that's how they would get all their necessities fulfilled. So then Prabhupada in the last paragraph describes about the Jata Karma ceremony. Next verse. Tam Ushu Brahmanas Tushta Rajan Prashta Vanyati Esha hi asmin prajatantau Kurunam Pauravarshava.
The learned Brahmanas, who were very satisfied with the charities of the king, addressed him as the chief amongst the Purus and informed him that his son was certainly in the line of descent.
So now the sages and all the Brahmanas, they start describing, who is this Parikshit? So then Brahmanas, they say, Daivena pratighratena
Devena Pratita
Shukle Sansthamupeyushi.
Shukle Samsthamupenushi
Rato Vo Anugraharthaya.
Rato Anugrahaya
Vishnuna Prabha Vishnuna.
The Brahmana said, "This spotless sun has
Brahmana
been
said, "This
restored."
spotless sun has been restored by the all-powerful and all-pervasive Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, in order to oblige you. He was saved when he was doomed to be destroyed by an irresistible supernatural weapon."
So these Brahmanas, they're so wonderful, powerful scholars, and they are actually not just pretenders who are gathering there just to get some money from Yudhishthira. Brahmanas, they were such powerful people. They had information of everything. They knew astrology, they knew Ayurveda, they knew military art also. They knew everything. You know, they're teachers of everything. Just like Krishna was taught 64 types of knowledge, you know, which nowadays every art has a course of 3-4 years, right? Whatever you do, engineering, medicine, economy, art, anything is a 2-3 years course. And all these Brahmanas, they were expert in everything. So that was the glory of the Brahmanas. And they would not charge for all the knowledge they have. So naturally, anybody would be helped by Brahmanas, they would give charity to Brahmanas. So Brahmanas, now they are telling that this spotless sun, they know that how it was protected. This child was protected by Krishna, Supreme Lord in the womb. So they are saying, Shukle Sanstham Upeyushi. Shukle Sanstha means the child is spotlessly white because he is pure. So Prabhupada writes, the child Parikshit was saved by Lord for 2 reasons. First is, the child in the womb of mother was spotless due to his being a pure devotee. Second, he was only surviving male descendant of Puru. And Lord wants to continue the line of pious kings to rule the earth. So therefore, Lord has to protect his devotees. Lord, and then Prabhupada again writes, why Lord protects the devotees? Because Lord desires that the conditioned souls should go back to the spiritual world. And who is helping Krishna in this service? The devotees who are in the position of kings. They have the potential to help Krishna very nicely. And therefore, Krishna protects them. So that's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. The Lord desires the conditioned souls hovering in the material creation to be reclaimed to go back home. And thus, Lord helps all the living entities in 3 ways. This is very interesting, very important. How Lord helps each and every one. First, he gives scriptures, Vedas. Second, he sends missionaries of saints and sages. Third, he sends his spiritual master, his representative. So he gives Vedas, he sends Guru, he sends devotees. So that is how Lord helps. And then Prabhupada writes about Shukle Sanstham. Yeah. Okay. So just a minute, Prabhupada writes somewhere a statement, nice. Next only, after this only, yeah. So he helps them by preparing the transcendental literatures like Vedas, by sending devotees and by sending representatives. Then such transcendental literatures, missionaries, and representatives of the Lord are spotlessly white because the contamination of material qualities cannot even touch them. So that's how Lord sends all these people. Okay, so now next 17th verse is a very, very famous verse. Tasman namna Vishnurata
Tasman namna Vishnurata
iti loke bhavishyati
Namna Vishnu.
Loke
लोके भविष्यति
na sandeho mahabaho
न
Nasandeho
सन्देहो
Mahabaho
mahabhagavato mahan.
Mahabhagavato Mahan.
For this reason, this child will be well known in the world as one who is protected by the personality of Godhead. O most fortunate one, there is no doubt that this child will become a first-class devotee and will be qualified with all good qualities.
Tasman namna Vishnurat. Vishnurat means one is protected by Vishnu. Iti loke bhavishyati. In the world he will be known by Vishnurat. There is no doubt he is a great fortunate person. Nasandeho Mahabhaga. And he is Mahabhagavat also. So Lord is so very eager to protect everyone actually, not just Parikshit. That's why he is sending all these three people. He sends three things. He sends Vedas, he sends devotees, he sends Guru. And then Prabhupada elaborates on this word Mahabhagavato Mahan. Three types of devotees, Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttam. Prabhupada elaborates on that. Okay, next verse. Now Yudhishthir Maharaj is inquiring. Shri Raja Uvacha
Viraja Vacha
Apyesha Vamshan Raja Rashin Punyashlokan Mahatmanaha Anuvartita Svidyashasa Sadhuvadena Sattamaha. Translation, somebody.
The good king Yudhishthira inquired, O great souls, will he become as saintly a king, as pious in his very name, and as famous and glorified in his achievement, as others who appeared in this great royal family?
Yeah. So, Parikshit Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj is a king and he has a responsibility towards all the citizens that he has to give a, heir for the entire kingdom, a person, a prince who will become the future king. So therefore he is worried that will he become a saintly king, as pious in his name and famous like the people of royal family? So that is a natural question. That will he maintain the name and fame of the family? Will he spread the name and fame of the family? So Prabhupada in the purport, he describes that the forefathers of Yudhishthir were all Raja Rishis. And therefore Yudhishthir Maharaj, he wanted that somebody who is about to become the king, he should also be a Raja Rishi only. So Prabhupada writes, Yudhishthir was happy to learn from Brahmanas that the child was a great devotee, and more confidentially, he wanted to know whether the child was going to follow in the footsteps of his great forefathers. That is the way of the monarchical state. The reigning king should be a pious, chivalrous devotee of the Lord, and fear personified for the upstarts. He must also live an heir apparent equally qualified to rule over the innocent citizens. So that these are the duties of a monarch, king. He should follow the footsteps of great forefathers. He should give a proper, he should rule the kingdom very nicely. He should himself be a king, and he should give a very wonderful heir who will rule the citizens according to the principles of the family and the dynasty. And then Prabhupada writes about the modern society. Modern kings, modern democracy, people are all fallen. They have become Shudras, and people who are running the government, they are also Shudras, and the whole atmosphere is charged with ignorance. And everyone wants to exploit the resources till he dies. So that is the current scenario. And then after Yudhishthira inquires, the Brahmanas, they give unimaginable list of Parikshit Maharaja's good qualities. Who is he actually? It is so very amazing and mind-boggling to see the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj. He is not an ordinary person of this world. So we'll just keep on reading. Prabhupada describes about each and every personality. We'll not go into the detail. We'll just keep reading till verse number 28 or something. Yeah, till verse number 29. Yeah. Translation. 19th verse.
The learned Brahmana said, O son of Pritha, this child shall be exactly like King Ishvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as for following the Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dasaratha.
Next.
This child will be he will expand the name and fame of his family like Bharata, the son of Maharaj Yudhishthira.
Amongst the greatest bowmen, this child will be as good as Arjuna. He will be irresistible as fire and as unsurpassable as the ocean.